It's 3:47 in the morning and you're wide awake, staring at the ceiling like it owes you answers. The room is so quiet you can hear the clock on the wall ticking like a countdown you never agreed to. Tick. 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 Every second feels borrowed. On the nightstand, there's a stack of bills you haven't opened because opening them means admitting this month is already losing. Your phone is face down, but you know what's waiting: 43 unread emails, 3 Slack notifications from a boss who thinks urgent is a personality trait, and a calendar that looks like a game of Tetris where you're always the block that doesn't fit. You've been awake for 4 minutes and your mind is already sprinting toward deadlines you haven't met, conversations you've been avoiding, and a vague, gnawing sense that you're falling behind in a race where the finish line keeps moving. You're not rested. You're just vertical. And somehow, that's supposed to count as a win. Here's the mirror moment, and I need you to stay with me on this. There are mornings you wake up but your soul never left the battlefield. You get dressed, you make the coffee, you nod at your coworkers like everything's normal, but inside you are running on fumes in faith that's been stretched so thin you can almost see through it. You smile at people because that's what functional humans do, but that smile is a rented costume and the bill is coming due. Nobody sees the weight you're carrying because you've gotten terrifyingly good at hiding it, tucking it behind "I'm fine and just tired" and "no really, I've got this." But right now, at 3:47 in the morning, when no one's watching, the mask slips and you're left with the question you've been dodging for weeks: is anyone seeing the real me? Is anyone noticing that I'm one bad day away from falling apart? Friend, if that's you, if you're carrying an invisible backpack full of bricks and nobody seems to notice, you're not broken. You're just exhausted. And there's a reason you're still awake. But this morning, before you reach for that phone and drown yourself in the noise, there's a different invitation waiting for you. It's not coming from your inbox. It's not coming from your to-do list. It's not even coming from the part of your brain that's already calculating how to survive the next 12 hours. It's coming from a voice that has been speaking longer than your anxiety has been shouting. Jesus said something once that still lands like a lifeline for people exactly where you are right now. He said, "Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest." That's Matthew 11 verse 28. Not "come to me after you've fixed yourself." Not "come to me once you've figured out why you're struggling." Not "come to me when you have perfect theology and a quiet heart." Just come. Weary. Burdened. Messy. Doubting. Exhausted. Come exactly as you are, with the bills unpaid and the emails unread and the faith that's hanging by a thread. He doesn't ask for a resume. He asks for your presence. That's grace that doesn't make sense and love that doesn't keep receipts. I remember a season when I thought I'd missed my moment. I had interviewed for a position I was certain God had orchestrated. I'd prayed about it. I'd felt peace. I'd even told a few close friends, "I think this is it." And then the email came. "We've decided to move forward with another candidate." I read it in a parking lot outside a coffee shop, sitting in my car with a cup of coffee that had gone cold an hour earlier because I was too anxious to drink it. I stared at that screen and felt something inside me collapse. Not just disappointment, something deeper. Abandonment. Confusion. I whispered out loud, "God, where are you?" Because right now it feels like you gave me hope just to watch it die. I'm not telling you this from a stage with perfect lighting and a polished testimony. I'm telling you this from a parking lot where faith felt like a foreign language. And if you've ever been there, if you've ever sat in the silence after a door slammed shut and wondered if God even remembered your address, you need to hear what I'm about to say. Because here's the truth that took me years to learn and only seconds to change everything: the place where you are exhausted is not the place where hope ends, it's the place where grace begins to rise. Your breaking point is not a burial ground. It's a construction site. God doesn't run from your fatigue. He walks straight into it. He's not intimidated by your doubts or offended by your questions. That parking lot moment, that 3:47 a.m. ceiling stare, that prayer you prayed through clenched teeth, those are not signs that your faith is failing. They're evidence that your flesh is running out of fuel and your spirit is about to learn what it means to be carried. Grace doesn't show up when you've got it all together. Grace shows up when you've got nothing left. And right now, in this moment, that grace is already moving toward you. But you're probably asking the question I asked 100 times in that parking lot. How do you actually lay down the burden when the pressure is still pressing on your shoulders? How do you rest when the deadlines haven't disappeared, the relationship is still broken, the bank account is still empty, and the anxiety is still screaming? That's not a theoretical question. That's survival. And the answer might surprise you because it's not about escaping your circumstances. It's about finding someone in the middle of them who is stronger than everything that's crushing you. But that takes a kind of surrender that feels like falling backward and trusting you'll be caught. And that's terrifying when you've been holding yourself upright for so long your arms are shaking. I remember the morning everything changed, or rather, the morning nothing changed, and that was the problem. The hospital room smelled like antiseptic and old coffee. You know that smell. It's the smell of waiting. The kind of waiting that doesn't come with a countdown clock or a progress bar. Just fluorescent lights buzzing overhead and a monitor beeping every few seconds like a metronome keeping time with your anxiety. My mother's hand felt small in mine. Fragile in a way I'd never noticed before. I kept staring at the door, willing a doctor to walk through it with a clipboard in good news. But the door stayed closed. And the beeping continued. And somewhere in that sterile silence, I realized something that rearranged my theology. There are burdens you cannot set down with willpower. You can't positive think your way out of a diagnosis. You can't manifest your way past a phone call you're terrified to receive. Some weights require a strength that doesn't originate in you. Maybe you know that room. Maybe yours wasn't a hospital, maybe it was a lawyer's office, or a counselor's couch, or your own kitchen table at 2 a.m. with a stack of papers you're afraid to open. The details differ, but the feeling is universal. You are holding something so heavy that your soul is sweating. And you've been holding it for so long you've forgotten what it feels like to breathe without a weight on your chest. Here's the thing about exhaustion nobody warns you about. It's not just physical. You can sleep 8 hours and wake up tired. You can take a vacation and come back depleted. Because the kind of tired I'm talking about doesn't live in your muscles. It lives in the places where hope used to reside. It lives in the gap between what you prayed for and what actually happened. It lives in the silence after you said, God, I trust you for the 100th time and still feel like you're free-falling. I went through a season, and I'm embarrassed to admit how long it lasted, or I would wake up at 3 a.m. almost every night. Not to use the bathroom. Not because of a noise. Just awake. Eyes open. Ceiling staring back at me like an empty screen. And my mind would start scrolling through a highlight reel of every failure, every uncertainty, every prayer that seemed to have gotten lost in the mail. 3:07 a.m. The bills. 3:22 a.m. The relationship that fractured. 3:41 a.m. The future that looked nothing like I'd planned. 4:15 a.m. The terrifying thought, what if God is tired of me asking? Have you been there? Have you lain in the dark and wondered if your prayers were just words bouncing off drywall? Have you questioned whether God had put you on mute? That's a lonely place. And the loneliness compounds the exhaustion. Because you feel like you're the only one whose faith is failing while everyone else is posting victory scriptures on social media. But can I tell you something that dismantled my despair and rebuilt it into something stronger? Something I wish someone had told me during those 3 a.m. vigils of anxiety? Your exhaustion does not repel God. It draws Him closer. We have this idea, and it's garbage theology, by the way, that we need to clean ourselves up before we approach God. That we need to have our act together, our doubts resolved, our faith firing on all cylinders. But that's not the gospel. The gospel is God bending low. The gospel is a Savior who touched lepers before He healed them. Who let a bleeding woman grab His cloak and didn't recoil. Who looked at a crowd of religious people ready to stone a woman and said, "The one without sin can throw the first rock," and then knelt in the dirt with her. That same Jesus is not standing at a distance, arms crossed, waiting for you to get your spiritual stamina back. He's sitting on the edge of your bed at 3:47 a.m. He's in the hospital chair next to you. He's in the parking lot while you stare at a rejection email. And he's not lecturing. He's not disappointed. He's present. Isaiah wrote something that I used to misunderstand. He said that those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength. They will soar on wings like eagles. They will run and not grow weary. They will walk and not be faint. For years I read that as a promise of endless energy. Like a divine caffeine drip. I thought it meant I'd never feel tired again if I just had enough faith. And when I did feel tired, bone tired, soul tired, hope tired, I assumed I was doing something wrong. That my hope was defective. That my faith was insufficient. But that's not what the verse is saying. Look at the progression: soaring, then running, then walking. It's actually slowing down. Eagles soar at high altitudes where the air is thin and the effort is minimal. They ride thermals. They're carried. Running takes more effort, but it's still forward motion. And walking? Walking is the slowest, most ordinary, least glamorous form of movement. And God says, even when you're just walking, just putting one foot in front of the other, just surviving, just making it through the day, you won't faint. I'll sustain you. The rest God offers isn't the absence of activity. It's the presence of a person. It's a rest that goes deeper than sleep. It's a peace that coexists with uncertainty. It's the ability to exhale even when the circumstances haven't exhaled yet. Here's a mirror moment. I want you to sit in this for a second. Behind the smile you wore this morning. Behind the "I'm fine" you texted back. Behind the competent, capable, holding it together version of yourself that everyone else sees, God sees the whole picture. He sees the exhaustion you've learned to camouflage. He sees the tears you swallowed in the shower because you didn't want your kids to hear. He sees the anxiety you manage so well that even your closest friends don't know the half of it. You are not invisible to him. You have never been invisible to him. The pressure you feel from work, from family, from finances, from expectations you never agreed to but somehow inherited, he sees every ounce of it. And he's not asking you to try harder. He's inviting you to lean heavier. That's the midpoint twist. That's the thing that changed everything for me in that hospital room and in those 3 a.m. darknesses. God does not meet your exhaustion with distance. He meets it with compassion. He doesn't roll his eyes at your weariness. He draws near to it. The first light of dawn slips through the window like it's asking permission. Not barging in. Not demanding you get up and fix everything. Just a soft, gray gold streak across the floor that says, "I'm here. Take your time." And for the first time in what feels like forever, you don't feel rushed by the morning. You feel met in it. This is the moment where grace collides with exhaustion. Not the kind of grace that lectures you about sleeping in. Not the kind that hands you a to-do list and a protein shake. The kind that sits down next to you on the floor, leans back against the bed frame, and doesn't say a word because it doesn't need to. Presence is the point. Because we're about to pray. Not a polished, Instagram caption prayer. A real one. The kind you pray when you're too tired to find fancy words. The kind where half of it is just breathing and the other half is trusting that God understands the language of exhales. Heavenly Father, I come to you this morning not with a list of accomplishments, not with a performance review, not with a spiritual resume. I come to you with exactly what I have: a mind that's been running laps all night, a heart that's carrying more weight than anyone knows, and a body that's running on fumes and forced optimism. I give you the thoughts I've been trying to manage on my own. The ones that circle back at 2 a.m. The ones that replay conversations and rewrite endings. The ones that whisper worst-case scenarios and call it being realistic. I can't outthink them, Father. I've tried. So I'm handing them to you, every looping worry, every rehearsed argument, every mental tab I can't seem to close. I give you the concerns I've been hiding. The ones I don't post about. The ones I don't even tell the people closest to me because I don't want to burden them, or because I'm not sure they'd understand, or because saying it out loud would make it too real. You already know them anyway, don't you? So here they are. I give you the place in me that is most exhausted. Not just sleepy tired, soul tired. The part that's been holding everything together for so long that my spiritual fingers are numb. The part that's been smiling on command, showing up on time, saying I'm fine when I'm anything but fine. I release the pressure to be strong for everyone else. I release the illusion that I have to have it all figured out. I release the shame I feel for being tired in the first place, as if exhaustion were a failure of faith instead of evidence that I'm human and I need you. Quiet my restless mind, Father. Not with answers, I know those come in your timing, not mine. But with your presence. Let your peace settle over my racing thoughts like a blanket over a shivering child. Where there is tension in my body, in my shoulders, in my stomach, in my jaw, let your calm replace it. Where there is anxiety humming under the surface of my competent exterior, silence it. Not by force. By nearness. I choose to release discouragement right now. Not because I've figured out how to fix everything. Not because the circumstances have suddenly changed. But because I'm trading it. I'm laying down the heavy, worn-out coat of despair, and I'm picking up the living hope you've been holding out to me this whole time. Hope that isn't based on my ability to manufacture optimism. Hope that's anchored in who you are, not in what I can predict. I place my schedule into your hands. Every appointment. Every deadline. Every conversation I'm dreading and every task I've been procrastinating. Go before me. Prepare the way. Give me wisdom where I'm confused. Give me courage where I'm afraid. Give me grace where I'm running on empty. I place my family before you. The relationships that are strained. The loved ones I'm worried about. The conversations we keep avoiding. The history that's complicated and the future that's uncertain. You love them more than I do. You see what I can't see. Work in ways I can't engineer. I place my decisions before you. The ones I've been putting off because I'm afraid of choosing wrong. The ones that feel too big for my wisdom. The ones where the stakes are high and the clarity is low. I don't need a burning bush, Father. I need a still, small voice. And I need ears to hear it. I place my future before you. The parts that scare me. The parts one can't control. The parts where I've been trying to be my own savior, my own provider, my own protector. I abdicate that throne. It was never mine to sit on. And now, in the quiet of this morning, with the first light still gentle on the floor and the world not yet demanding my attention, I make these declarations. Not because I feel them fully yet, but because faith speaks before feelings catch up. I declare that I am not beginning this day in defeat. Last night's failures do not get to write today's story. Yesterday's exhaustion does not get to set today's pace. I am stepping into this day under the covering of a God who has already gone ahead of me, who has already prepared grace for every moment I haven't faced yet. I declare that fear does not get to direct my steps. It may knock. It may whisper. It may try to sound reasonable and responsible and wise. But it does not get the steering wheel. I am led by the Spirit of God, not by the spirit of anxiety. Courage is not the absence of fear, it's the decision to move forward while fear is still talking. And that's what I'm choosing. I declare that my hope is alive because it's anchored in someone who cannot lie, cannot fail, and cannot abandon me. Not in political outcomes. Not in financial forecasts. Not in human approval. Not in my own ability to hold it together. My hope is anchored in the character of a God who has never broken a promise. And that anchor holds even when my emotions are thrashing in the storm. I declare that my strength is being renewed right now, not later when I've had more coffee, not after a vacation I can't afford, not when the circumstances finally shift. Right now. In this moment. Because the source of my strength is not sleep, not success, not a stress-free environment. It's the presence of the living God who dwells in me. And He doesn't get tired. He doesn't get overwhelmed. He doesn't need a nap. The same power that raised Jesus from the dead is at work in my exhausted body and my weary soul. Right now. I declare that today, I choose trust over tension. I choose worship over worry. I choose to magnify the Lord instead of magnifying my problems.